and you can have it tailored however you want, and it is open year-round. So if you want to gear up for a sport, jump on that. There's more than enough gear. So take advantage of that, please. So my 5-year-old's yearbook, kind of funny that the pre-K student has a yearbook. On the cover of it, it says silver lining. And that kind of struck with me. And amongst all of the chaos that was sports this year, some kids having 3 practices in between one sport before they started another, teams taking a hiatus because they needed to take a break because of COVID. I would like to remind everyone before we start that the silver lining of this year is that we offered our student athletes 8 teams in which they could participate on. 7 varsity teams, 1 modified team. Which if you look at all of our league schools, that number is as high or higher than every school in our league. We started a cross-country team for the first time, and for the first time in a long time, we put our boys' varsity baseball team back on our field. So, amongst it all, there was still a lot of good. And once again, welcome, enjoy yourselves. Next year will hopefully resemble a more traditional sports banquet. So with that being said, I'm going to take off my athletic director hat and my MC hat, and I will put on my coaching hat. So the first part of our presentation is varsity cross country. So guys, why don't you just hold off, and when you hear your name, you can come on up and I'll try to say something nice about you. And we'll move on from there. So I really think that none of these 5 guys had any idea what cross country was when we started. Running for the sake of running. There's no ball, there's no score, there's nothing. I don't understand this. And maybe I talked them into it. Maybe they thought it was a good idea. Maybe they still regret it. I don't know. But for a month and a half, we had a cross-country team. And I have to tell you, it was a lot of fun. And I ran with these kids every day. At the end of the year, because before the year started, they had no idea what I was talking about when I said we're going to run at such and such pace. I don't think they had any idea what it actually, with the rigors involved to run 2.5 miles without stopping, or there we went 4 miles. And by a couple weeks in, if I said we're going to run this first mile at an 8-minute pace, then we're going to try to pick it up and run it at a 7.5-minute pace, they knew what I was talking about, and they could do it. So that was really kind of cool to see them grow, and I really think they all kind of had an appreciation for the sport of running when it was all said and done. And I've run on and off for the last 25 years of my life. There's been times where I consider myself a pretty diehard runner, and I think it takes one to know one. Like I said, for a month and a half, at the end of our practices and meets, I was looking at other runners, and I really appreciated the whole experience of setting out, running through pain, running through bumps, running in downpours, running when it was really hot, running when I had to, hey, we're going to need hats and mittens. It was a really cool experience, and one that I'll never forget, and I'm pretty sure those 5 guys won't forget either. I never heard them complain. I'm pretty sure they did a lot of complaining before I showed up. But once I got there, they were good. We did what we had to do, and we got out of there. So let me just tell you about these guys. I didn't give them awards, but I do want to call them up. So let's start with probably the most natural runner that I think we had on the team. Way more natural runner than I am. Just looked so smooth all the time. And he missed some time early. And I knew that once he kind of got healthy, because you miss 2 weeks of running and then try to get back into it. It's really difficult. And I kept waiting for him to really push for first place. When is it going to happen? And the last couple of meets, he was awesome. He looked like the runner that I thought he would. And proud to introduce Aiden Stone. Come on, Aiden. So, as he's walking up, the next guy, it was like he never believed in himself. And I kept like, do it, you can do this. And he'd be like, I'm just going to try to get like third or fourth place today. I'm just going to see if I can keep up with Stone or Diaz. And by like the second or third meet, he was actually our first runner. And he was a top finisher twice. So he went from not believing in himself to all of a sudden, I was like, yeah, there it is, you can do it. And I was really proud of his efforts. Just a good guy to be around. All these guys are. Come on up, Nathan Monahan. All right, the next guy isn't here. Maybe he's watching at home. And he had to run through a bunch of bumps, bruises, and everything. I feel like every single time he went for a run, his ankles hurt, his knee hurt, his foot hurt. I kind of felt bad for him. But I think he really gained an appreciation for the sport. He always finished really strong. So I was really proud of him. Lucas Giamboni. Two more guys here, and then we'll pass the torch. So the next guy showed up every day, good attitude, mentally prepared, was ready to run. We had a 4-mile run in practice at one point, and like the last, I kind of ran the second half with him. He was kind of croaky. He was in a lot of pain. And he was like, Mr. Brian, I'm going to do this. I was like, you can do it, man. We're almost there. And for, it took him, 16 minutes to do those last 2 miles. We gutted it out, never stopped. I was super proud of that effort. And that's really how we approached every single day and every meet. So come on up, Anthony. Carl. I didn't bring up the other problem that you had before that one. Okay. All right, and last but not least, guy that was he was good from the get-go, fast from the get-go, and like if I ran in practice and I was like, all right, I'm going to beat these guys today, and I'm going to blow them away. He was the one guy where I was like, I got to really keep an eye on where he is and make sure he doesn't get too far ahead. At times it was Stone, but this other guy was fast. He didn't really like the longer runs. It was like, let's do like the 2.5, 4. But he's just a good natural athlete, and I really think that if he put his mind to it, he'd probably be an excellent long-distance runner at some point in his life. Aiden Diaz, come on up. All right, so last but not least here, so I'll sum it up with this, and I love this kind of sums up our whole season. We talked a lot about strategy before one of our meets, and we knew who the best runners were. And they were from, one guy from Untitled Christian, the other guy from McGinn. We really were, hey, to run our race, and maybe we can catch them at the end. Don't get off too early. I thought we really had the whole thing kind of schemed out. And I was really excited to run with our serious kids run at the meet, and we show up. And Loudon and Christian had to cancel because they had a COVID issue, and McGinn only brought one kid. And I was like, we spent all this time, all this strategy, we were so ready to go, and I felt so disappointed. And I was like, what's their motivation? Are they really going to find like the will to run? And they didn't care. And if you cared, it didn't show, and it certainly didn't show on the times because everyone's time was considerably better than the week before. So I was super proud of that. And obviously, your time is a big part of running. Every single one of these guys took anywhere between 25 seconds and 40 seconds of pace per mile. So they went from 7:40 to a 7. They went from 7:55 to a 7:15. And that's really hard to do when you're running multiple miles. So hats off to these guys. It was a heck of a time. And I hope that they got something out of it as well. So let's give them. All right, so let's get on stage. Thanks. And we have girls soccer. Yeah, like 7:45.
Good evening. First, I just want to talk about the season, which was quite a surprise in itself because our girls were pumped and ready to go. Literally days before the season was going to start, we found out that it's not going to happen. When we were playing for the process, we thought the season wasn't going to happen. So there was a lot of disappointed girls. And then we heard that it was going to be fall too. We started the process. It got a little nerve-wracking. We didn't know how that was going to play out. We finally got to have the season, and it was interesting to say the least for our athletes. I mean, I had probably one of the shortest but most enjoyable seasons I've ever had. It wasn't because it was short. One of the most amazing things is I actually had more one-on-one coaching, which is very valuable for a coach. Because of the way things worked out this year, I had the ability to spend time with 6 or 7 girls at a time instead of 15. And to be able to do that and break down and actually teach kids things that I wouldn't know to be able to because I had to really think about the whole picture instead of individualizing the coaching as much as I would like to. It was a great experience because I saw a lot of growth from a lot of the girls I would have never imagined would have been the case. So it's been a pleasant surprise. It's going to be unfortunate because one of the biggest girls I've seen is going to be leaving pretty soon. But it was quite an enjoyable season. We didn't get the number of wins that I would have liked, but I think we had one heck of a time. We really enjoyed each other. Grew a lot, we learned a lot, and had a lot of fun. I'm going to invite a couple of girls up on the stage in groups, and then talk about them. But first I want to call up is Lily. She is, as she's coming up, we'll talk a little bit about her, but she has been with me this is her second year, and the growth that I've seen has been great. The work that she puts in has been fantastic, and she's a hard worker. She's got a lot of potential that I see within her, and I really hope that she actually comes through and pushes herself. There's going to be some good competition on the team, so that should create a good motivator for her, but she's got a lot of potential. Olivia, Ms. Thomas, please come on up. So Ms. Thomas is new to the team this year. I actually want to thank Coach Ford. It's all his fault. So Olivia, if you're mad, we'll blame him. But she is a basketball player, my trade usually, and Mr. Ford grabbed me and said she's fast, she's good, she's an athlete. And I said, all right, get her out to me, and he recommended her to come out. And I have been nothing but pleasantly surprised. Unfortunately, her season was a little bit short, and so in the limited time that I did have her, wow, the speed, the accuracy, the aggression. I mean, she has a lot of potential. I'm really looking forward to the years to come with her. Next is Taryn Stone. I can invite you out here. She did not come. Okay, so Taryn Stone, just to give a quick run through with her. Again, somebody that I did not expect to come out. I've been talking to her for a while. She has been a great athlete herself, very well rounded, a lot of potential with her as well. Miss McDermott, you want to come on up? Where is she? Sorry. So Madison, I always joke with her. We spend a lot of time on the ground. So if anybody's ever come to a soccer, I like to tease Madison about it, but she has interesting balance. But the growth that I've seen in that case has been amazing because in the beginning of the season, what I saw during modified when I used to watch the games and practices, she tended to find herself on the ground quite a bit. So we worked a lot this year on lunges and a lot of muscle strength in her legs. And towards the end of the season, I think she was knocking people over as opposed to being knocked over. And I saw footwork that I would have never guessed come from this young lady. So these three ladies that are here, one lady being Miss Stone, they all have earned the budding star award because I see a lot of potential in them. I feel that they can be great athletes, but they have to want that and push for it. So I'm looking forward to that potential if they want to pull it out of themselves. So great job, girls, on that. Now this next little pod is going to be two young ladies. again, one, I want to thank Coach Ford for, because the beautiful thing about being able to work in this district is you have a lot of great resources with your fellow coaches and staff members. Mr. Ford got in my ear and he said, hey, there's something to watch out for. This young lady played varsity basketball. She is a lot younger than I would have ever thought I would have dipped into for going for a varsity athlete. But Miss Aguilar, Emma, are you here? So, Coach never thought to reach out to this young lady, but from what I heard from Coach Ford, she is one heck of an athlete, and I found out very quickly that she has a lot of tools available to her. I mean, she can play pretty much any position on the field. Over the course of the years, I've always had more to call Swiss Army knife, and that's usually been to this year. I hope she's got that a few times, and I really think that that is something you may end up occurring in the future, because this young lady stepped in and goal. She played on offense, she played on defense, and she did so very well, and she's got a heart beyond no other when it comes to being a competitor. So I can't thank enough for that from her. The second person in this grouping was Miss Madeleine Zechariah, who I've been bugging this young lady for quite a while to play soccer, because luckily I work with her mom and I get to hear a lot of stories about how she plays. And I was hesitant at first because I like to have, some older groups of kids and stuff like that. So usually when we grab younger kids, it's a little scary at first because I'm always worried for their safety and their health and stuff like that. I don't have to worry about that with this young lady. She has no problem knocking a girl down with a legal check and stuff like that. And she has made exceptional growth this year. I put her as my sweeper, which is a very difficult position to learn. She has learned a lot. She had an honorable mention. So we went through the CHBL league meeting. We went and we voted for all-stars and so forth. Her name was brought up. It was in consideration. They felt, given her age and some of the stuff that she needs to learn, that is on the cusp of becoming an all-star in our league. So kudos to you for getting an honorable mention in that situation. It's nothing official, but we wanted to let you know that your name was definitely brought up. So these two ladies are rising stars. They are the rising star award because of the fact that they will be playing a very vital role in this team in the years going forward. So congratulations. I think I saw her coming in. Yes, I did. So this lady deserves a category all in her own spotlight. Miss Rankin, can you please come up? So this is Miss Mackenzie Rankin. I'm sure many know her. I love this kid. So hopefully I don't embarrass her too much. She came out to play soccer, and I knew a lot about her from being her teacher. She is fun, she's energetic, she is very confident, she's very unique, and I love all of those qualities about her. The one thing I didn't know is how much of a brute she is. So usually if you know Mackenzie from walking through the hallways and stuff, usually as she walks by, she's like, hi, how are you? And she's very happy, and she's got these little headphones on with little ears and stuff, and furry hugs and stuff like that. But she's a very lovable and loving person until you put her on a soccer field. So the times that she did get on the field, she did not shy away from competition. I mean, one of our players, who is a very veteran player on our team, and we do this drill where usually I want to break in the younger girls to make sure that they can handle physical contact at the varsity level. And she may not be the biggest girl on my team, but she is definitely a competitor and a fighter. But when Mackenzie went up against her, if you're familiar with how our field is laid out, she knows what I'm talking about. The field is like, so we run down the sideline closest to the softball fields. And so the goal is we come in for a legal shoulder check and fight for position. It's almost like a shoulder tug of war. Well, as you know, second and third base is quite far away from the sideline. Well, that's where Charlie ended up after Mackenzie kept giving her that shoulder, because she just bowled her right over. So I was like, wow, this is kind of like, I forgot the movie, it was like Slapshot, where they send that crew in that really just wipes out the other team. But Mackenzie is like her heart. This is really where it is, because she would come in, she would play her butt off, she would work hard, and she would always do it with a smile. She was a great cheerleader for her teammates. I don't think I've ever seen her without a smile. And I mean, you don't even need to worry about the mask, because like, you can see that she's just, sticking up above the mask. On the field, off the field, just her attitude, her behavior. She earned the biggest heart award because of the fact is how caring and loving she is of her team, but she has been a great asset for making the team feel like a family, and I thank you for that, kiddo. Trying to see who came over this. I'm going to announce everybody, so I don't know if everything's necessarily here. But the next one, this young lady came up to my team this year. Again, great attitude, great person. Miss Bailey, if you could join us up here on stage. So this is Alyssa Bailey. Go ahead, you've done for everybody else. Miss Bailey came out, and I know her as one heck of a student. I wasn't really sure what I would get as an athlete, but she has learned a lot this year. The one thing I can say is that as she has been on the field and on there, on that practice field and so forth, the way she carries herself is an example for all of her teammates, for all of her classmates, and so forth. She is polite. She, please, thank you, yes sir, yes ma'am. I mean, she is a great example of what it is to be an athlete, a student athlete, and also a good citizen itself. The next person, Miss Miller, is she here? She is. So Haley Miller is another person who would be coming up in this pod. She is a great young lady in regards to how she treats her fellow classmates, her fellow teammates, and how she carries herself on and off the field. The next person in this group is Ms. Young Kendra. I don't know if she is here, if she made it or not, but she is also in this category. Again, very respectful young lady. The way they carry themselves. This has been a great year. I've had some teams where we may deal with some issues on and off the field, but this has been one of the most peaceful, respectful group of girls that I've had in a very, very long time. And the last but not least in this group is Ms. Carr. Evan, please come on up. I've had Evan for a few years now, and timid at first, but always smile, always caring, and I mean, I've never had any issue with her whatsoever. I mean, she's very polite, she follows direction, always asks what she can do better. Sometimes, she gets a little worried that maybe she's not doing enough for me, but her attitude, her behavior is one of the most valuable things that she has on that soccer field. A lot of attention to all these girls in this group, the 4 girls in this group, Alyssa, Haley, Kendra, and Heaven, all earn the respect award for how they carry themselves on and off the field, specifically on the field, and how they work with their teammates and also at home as well. So great job. I'm having a hard time not embarrassing this next one, because I've got so much to do. But I'm going to call up Miss Kayla Wilson to the stage. She will be by herself in this one. So Kayla, I have known for quite a few years as a teacher, but I also spent some time kind of keeping an eye on my team as well, and we've kind of joked back and forth, and she did really jump at the opportunity to try out for varsity right away. She hesitated. She waited till her senior year, which is a little bit of a disappointment for me because I really wish I could have more time with her because towards the end of the season, just in that short season we had, I saw so much for her. The one thing though that really stood out to me is the fact that throughout this season, this young lady dealt with a lot. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but she did not have the opportunity to be on the field anywhere near as much as she could have, wanted to, or should have. And she did not miss a practice. This young lady sat in pouring rain during practice while her teammates practiced, but she was unable to. I never heard her complain once. She was the first person to grab the bags. She was the last person to leave practice, and she would always say, "Gee, what else can I do? I can't ask for anything more from this lady," and I'm just impressed with the fact that she put the team on. Right in her focal point, she stuck through, was right by our side the entire time, and I gave her the true heart award. Because the fact is that she really has shown what it is to have a healing heart, to stick by her teammates, no matter what circumstances face you, no matter how hard they are, no matter how tough they are, you stay there and you show up day after day. The only time this lady was not able to come to practice, there was no way she could have made it. If there was any human way that she was not bound to something specific, she was there, rain or shine, whether she was practicing or not. And I know for you athletes, if you've ever practiced in the rain, yeah, it's not too bad because you're moving around even more. But sitting in a 40, you know, I mean, it was cold some of those days, 40, 50 degrees, raining out, and for a 2-hour practice, she didn't even fit in the plane once. So kiddo, congratulations. Thank you so much. I'm just going to go through the motions because unfortunately she was unable to make it, but Miss Hope has usually been my Swiss Army knife over the years, and I was unsure of who I would have to be able to take that role in this current year. But Miss Nolette, who is not here tonight, she was my Swiss Army knife award recipient because literally that girl could play striker, she could play sweeper, she could play midfield. The only thing she couldn't do was goalie, but I needed her in every single time we turned around. Somebody was missing, whether it was a restriction, whether it was an injury, and without complaint, she jumped in any role that I asked and did it fantastically. She was very well-rounded and could fit any hole. And if many of you know, Swiss Army knives have many different tools in their device, and that is exactly what she had. No matter where I put her, she could be successful. I would not be surprised if she could be successful in the goal as well. So Ms. Nolette won the Swiss Army Knife Award as well. In addition to that, she was also named a second team CHPL All-Star for the girls this year. So congratulations, Bella. Wherever you are, this next one's a little tough for me, but let's see. Maddie, you want to come on, kiddo? Unless you want me to hold back. I'm not gonna. But so Maddie, when I got her at the beginning of the year, it's always a great thing to see her face because I know that she'll run all those anyway. And she's a physical, she's a fighter, she's a feisty, fiery one as well. But the one thing is that when I got her the first year, she was very, not timid, I would say, but she was just, okay, I'll do what you tell me to do, and she just pushed through. And she was almost, I don't want to say overshadowed, but she was able to just fill up the ranks and not get visibly as noticed just because she was just so quiet. But this year, being able to work with you, to work with her during those practices where we had fewer people, and really walk down and break down your skill set and work on some foot skills, oh my gosh. I don't know if anybody had a chance to see this girl play this year, but I mean, when you got her mad, that's really what helped it too. But she went from kickoff to the goal. And there's a video actually, if you go on her feed, where I think you broke the ankle with 6 girls before you got to the goal. Now, you asked me 2 years ago if I would have thought she would have been able to do that. I knew she was a scrapper and a fighter, and she'd get there and accept the girls, and she wouldn't quit. I never in a million years would have expected her to be able to cut up a soccer field the way that she did this year. I mean, the spins and the crossovers, it was beautiful. So, 2 awards that I'm giving you. And the only person who received 2 awards this year from me, and you actually have a third, but that one didn't come from me directly. But I'm giving her most improved because even though I have some young players on this team, the growth that I have seen in you this year was amazing. And congratulations on that. The second one, though, because of the fact that you were literally breaking ankles, I'm surprised when you went to the hospital, you're getting the Finesse Award as well because of the way that you could actually cut through those people. And last but not least, she was named a first team CHPL All-Star as well. So, Maddie, congratulations. I think that's it, right? Carly, come on. So, Ms. Seeloff, congratulations, come on up. The last and final person on the speech. Again, it has been quite an experience to be able to have this young lady on my team. The ability just to sit there, you don't need to be nervous. To be able to sit there and break down her skills and focus on it, going from literally last year crisscross applesauce in the ground because she was mad at me because I said you need to sit because she was injured and I didn't want her to get hurt anymore than she already did, to literally seeing her cracking shots from outside the 18, you know, putting goals in left and right. She has made great strides, not the most improved, but she definitely has put herself on a team to the point where if she wasn't on the field this year, you we would not have been as successful as we have been. The goals, the attitude, the way that you push your team because you wanted to win is something that we're going to need here moving forward. I hope we continue to bring that into the final season next year, which is going to be a bittersweet one for me. But with the hard work and the energy that she put in this year, she's going to be MVP award for this season. And in addition to that, was a first team CHL All-Star as well. So congratulations. So in closing, I just want to say it was a fantastic season. I could not ask anything more of these girls in the difficult situations that we dealt with. It went great. I had a great time, and they played hard for me, and they played their hearts out. So what I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to invite up my partner in crime in soccer, the boys varsity coach, Mr. Ford.
Let's have everyone actually come join me on the stage. Let's do it a little bit differently. So if you played, you're here, come on. What do we have? We have 9? 9. So we're missing 2. Kind of. Okay, so this is kind of typical of our games actually because of either injury or something else. We need 11 to play. We had 10 in most of, or probably about half of our games. So playing 10 against 11 is never fun. But we play hard and play with pride, and I love these guys. So we played well for minutes, we played well for quarters. They didn't break it down in quarters this year, which was kind of weird. We played well for halves, but we never played well for all 80 minutes, unfortunately. And I have a feeling that next year, I'm really hoping will be different and there will be more success, team success. So let's talk about these guys, and I'll tell you what awards they got. So let's start with LJ McCarthy. And LJ actually is the answer to the trivia question, who's coach's dad and the son in soccer. So yeah, I coached dad. Now I'm coaching LJ, and dad was good. Watch out, dad, because he's gonna be pretty good. And yeah, he really hung in there playing as a 7th grader against 11th and 12th graders. And he's going to have a growth spurt, and he's going to come back in a couple of years and hopefully dominate like that. A lot of potential, and he did get crushed in game cornhole today. So I just want to just point that out because he was calling me out. So Alex Reese. So Alex Reese did something. First of all, he's a really good passer, and he has a good foot on him. And we started to kind of play around with maybe taking some corner kicks, maybe even some goal kicks. I think he took at the end of the year. But he did something that I've never seen before, and I've done this year 19 or 20. And so we're in the middle of a practice, and he just had a new hairdo. It's very similar to what he has now. So in the middle of a practice, he pulled into his back pocket, and he pulls out like those old school black combs. He pulls out a comb, and he just starts slicking his hair back and down my book. I was like, right. So he needed to do something. Yeah, coach, this is what I do now. And I was like, so we made a big deal about the comb. Hopefully the comb doesn't. I don't know if I'm rooting for the comb to make it come back next year or not. It's gonna come back. Maybe it could be like a big brush next year or something. All right. Sean Ellis. Sean Ellis is a first timer with us as a junior. He's earning his H, which is kind of cool. Really good communicator on the field. Has a good presence about him on the field. Was a backup keeper for us. Filled in nicely against, I think, Don Stewart. Yeah, thank you, Tyler. And played a really good game. Don Stewart was just really good. And he did tell me he has some kind of workout program, and so I expect him to stroll in late August, jacked and in shape and running people over, and he's going to have a big senior year. Lucas is a pretty good soccer player, but Lucas is a really good DJ. Like, Lucas always had the music going, so when I showed up to practice, these guys would have the music going, he would take requests. I give Lucas a really hard time about it, like the soundtrack, so we had some fun this year. We listened to music when we were practicing. But on a serious note, I do think that Lucas could be, if he's focused, could be a big part of next year for us. Carson, he told me early in the year, he said, I really like playing right defense. Okay, just played last year, so we put him there, and he did a good job. Carson he's a good guy to have on the team. He's smart, he's likable, he's a good sense of humor. Aiden Stone. So Aiden Stone, I don't know if he played a lot of keeper before this year. Not much, I'm thinking. Right, like none. So we didn't have a keeper. We had like 3 to 6 days of practice before our first game. And kind of had a little tryout, and Stone won the job. And he kind of had to just learn on the fly. And he was spectacular down the stretch. This guy was making saves, right? I mean, he was good. Our defense would break down a couple times a minute, and Stone would have to, make some kind of crazy save. And he was a lot of fun to watch. I think that Stone's going to be, we found his spot. He's going to be really good in that shit. Anthony Carl, my main man Anthony Carl, he's like the ultimate team player. He plays hard, plays the right way, and Anthony's one of those guys where like if I could go back in time and play, like I would be like, yeah, I want to play with Anthony. Anthony would be a cool guy to play with to have on my team. And he's gonna be real good for us next year as a senior. Ryan Sedgwick, he takes most of our free kicks. He takes all of our throw-ins. He's a really good passer, really good shooter, good decision maker. He's just a good all-around soccer player, and I really hope that he just blossoms a little bit more, because I really want him to start to be recognized within the league by other coaches. I think that he's somebody that should be a first or second team All-Star next year if he takes that step. I know that he will. Tyler Nolet. Tyler Nolet is he's one of our captains. We have 2 captains, and he's a really good captain. When I say Tyler, with this drill, it would be set up like that. Tyler knows what we're doing. Guys do this, guys do that, and he's on. He's the best. He's tough, he's gritty, he's fast. Tyler Nolet is a star. He's a star. If I look at, if I start to go down with the top 15 guys that I've ever coached, or top 10 guys, he has to be somewhere near that. He's in that list. I love watching Tyler play. He's so tough. He's the kid that, he collides. Like, soccer is a contact sport, right? You're bumping into people all the time. In Tyler's case, he bumps into people more frequently than others. He doesn't pick up cards. He plays it the right way. There's no silly fouls. But he's the guy that when he runs into somebody that's like 3 times his size, that dude doesn't get up. And I'm like, oh, man. Then Tyler springs to his feet. I'm like, no, this kid doesn't. So he really brings some toughness to our team. Come out and watch him play next year. Come out and watch all these guys. Tyler's just our other captain, team player, plays really hard. I had to talk him into playing 3 or 4 years ago. I was like, I'm not a soccer player for it now. He's like, I know that he's chomping at the bit for next year. I respect his opinions, his suggestions, in between quarters or halves. What do you see, Todd? What do you see? And he'd be able to steer us in the right direction. And I know that Nate's one of those guys that could be a first or second team All-Star as well. Because he's going to have a big year next year. And last but not least, Aiden Diaz. and he's continuing his development towards becoming a legitimate soccer player, like a legit star. So I've seen him since he was in modified as a 7th grader, and he just kind of keeps getting there. I'm really hoping that next year could be the year as a junior year where he can kind of take off. And he kind of played all over the place. He can play up, he can play right wing, he can play defense. We had Shadow, that one kid, Christian, right? Just wherever he goes, you go. And, Aiden's just such a good athlete that, he can do it all. And I really look forward to coaching Aiden next year. So before we set these guys off, I do have some awards for you. Obviously, they're in the white packets. I'm cutting down on obviously transferring things. So let's start with a coach's choice. And I've got 3 of them, and these are just guys that I like being around. I respect. They're good soccer players. They play the right way, and they have a lot of potential. And they're obviously the backbone to our team. So give a nice hand to Ryan Zechariah. Second coach's choice award goes to Nathan Monahan. I guess before I start with the third is, we didn't win any games this year. I mean, we just played good competition, and we're just still kind of going. We're still kind of getting there. And the only reason I bring that up is when you don't win games and you sit around with other coaches and you talk about CHBL All-Stars. Like Don Stewart had like 9 guys. They won the league. They were amazing. They had like every single guy. It was like, well, he was good too. Yes, he was good as well. So you kind of, it's tough to make a case when you don't have like the team success to go behind it. So with that, we did have 2 guys that were on an all-star team. So my third coach's choice award and a second team all-star. Hopefully next year will be a first team all-star. Give a big hand to Aiden Diaz. And the MVP of our team, the rock of our team, a first team all-star. Give a huge hand to Tyler Millett. I am rooting so hard, not for me, I'm rooting so hard for these guys and the other 5 or 6 that have told me that are going to play. I'm rooting so hard for you guys to have some team success next year. I'm rooting so hard for you. Like, do a little bit of work in the off season. Don't come in out of shape. Do something. Because if you put in some work, good things will happen. Right? I'm so rooting for you guys. Let's have a good summer and then come back in August and let's have a good season. So give these guys a hand. All right, we're moving on. We have Coach Carr with Varsity Boys Basketball. You can sit with me.
Happy you guys got to walk around, but if you were a member of the varsity team, watch come on back up.
Yeah. Get them some exercise.
As we're coming up, I just want to go through acknowledge everybody here. We're missing 1 7th grader, Mom Bones tonight, Ellis Jay McCarthy. My sophomores, David Diaz, Alex Reese, Ryan Sedgwick, David Stone. Juniors, Anthony Carr, Nate Monahan, Tyler Nolet, Jake Sagamore. My seniors, Jacob Sedgwick. Mr. Bynum. So before I start on the team awards, people I got to thank for tonight. Our athletic director, Brian Ford. Our bookkeepers, Angela and Nicole Nagy. Assistant coaches, Coach Carville, Coach Jones, Coach Mason. Even though Coach wasn't there inside with us, Coach Mason, I got text messages. He was watching the entire time, and he was still taking stats. Thanks, Coach. Faculty staff, custodial staff, and our admin, our Board of Education, allowing all this to happen.
And not only for these guys and all the work they did, for all the parents and families as well. I think to say that the season was a little bit unique would be kind of an understatement. And I'm going to be biased here because I was the first one here who's actually reporting that we were indoors. So it's a little bit different from being outside. So I remember having weekly conversations with admin and with Ford on updated guidance and start dates and scheduling. And we went through it all, and the ultimate goal was to get these guys on board. And that's what we did. We were lucky to have a season for it. But with that came some challenges. And I just want to point those out. You know, a lot of these parents and these students have a lot to go through. First and foremost, school remotely or in person. That's a little bit different this year. Daily streaming, which doesn't seem like a big ordeal. Let me tell you, it's a big ordeal. I forget some days. I get a stare from Mr. Zembo to go figure it out. And in practices, when they're unforeseen, we gotta make sure we have social distancing and open gyms with no competitive play. That's a tough one to get going. Still getting a number of practices so you can actually play in a shorter season is also tough. My favorite one, wearing a mask at all times. And I think there's a couple guys here that I could probably threaten with either a stapler or tape to keep it up on their face the entire time. And then the last two, and I think two of the most important ones to point out, we had about a 3-4 week period to get these games in. Some were back to back to back. And they had to do all these games with no fans and no family present. That's a lot to ask you guys. And not for nothing, we put you through the ringer this year. I'll be the first to admit that. And it wasn't easy. A lot of times it was pretty difficult and frustrating. I know you guys got frustrated. We didn't get as many wins as we wanted. You know, it does happen. We're going to get there. But you showed up. You worked hard. And you worked as hard as you could for as long as you could. You played hurt. Some of you didn't tell me you were playing hurt. Yes. See you down there. You had some new faces. You had different lineups. You had people that sometimes they weren't there. But you kept on going. And like I said, I know everyone wants wins and not losses. And I'll be the first one to admit I would love to have some wins and not losses too. And they're coming to us. Trust me, they're coming. But a win isn't always what's up on the scoreboard at the end of the game. There are no scoreboards in life. And I know that sounds cliche. But you're going to have obstacles. And what you had this year was one huge obstacle. And you had two choices. You could either hurdle it, what Ford said earlier, or you can stop before it even happens. And you guys showed up, and you battled it, and you took everything with them. And for that, I applaud you. Now on to my awards here. First award we have is the Coaches Award, and there's two individuals that got this year. One's not here. So I'm going to talk about the other one a little bit. He's got a bright future. He's a youngster. It's probably not hard to pick out up here. He puts in the work. He puts in the work during the off season. He plays the AAU. He's committed to it. And one of my favorite moments this year, he scored his first 2 points. And afterwards, I looked at him and I go, you only got about 1,800 more to catch up to your dad. So our Coaches Awards go to Mom, Mommy, and Ellis. Our second award is Most Improved Player Award. And one of the great parts about seeing these guys daily and yearly is you get to see how much they progress day to day, year to year. And to a coach, it's not, it's huge. It's all about the off season. Working on your fundamentals, working on your body, working on your basketball IQ. And watching this kid perform this year, it was very, very apparent. And I think with more work this summer, he's going to have a huge senior year, and I can't wait to coach him. Our most improved player goes to Anthony Carr. And our last award is the Most Valuable Player Award. And I think that this recipient should come as no surprise to anyone that's seen him play. He was one of our captains this year. He was our leading scorer. And if you probably added up every minute we played this season, I think he played probably about 99% of them. Most of the time he was tired. Sometimes he was hurt. He pushes his teammates, and he was a big leader for us. Our most valuable player goes to Healty. closing, I just want to reiterate my gratitude for everyone that made the season possible. I also remind you guys that we got some work to do this summer. Starting in 18 days from now, we have your first summer league game. So enjoy the next couple of days off here, fellas, and let's get back to work. Thank you. Next, we have Ryan with the Varsity Softball.
I forgot. Can I work out of here real quick? Come back in. Just up around. Sweet.
Yeah, let's have you all come on. Let's do it that way. Alright, so your girls varsity basketball team. And I would like to say ditto to everything that Coach Carr said. It was, yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. It was by far, like I always get this, so my 18th year, I always get these numbers mixed up. It was by far, maybe outside of my first year coaching girls, it was by far the most difficult coaching job. It was such a hard season. You're 2 days in, and I'm putting in out-of-bounds plays, and baseline out-of-bounds plays, and we're just doing conditioning, because you knew that 4 days from now we were going to play a game. It was crazy. And it was also difficult because I have a really young team, probably the youngest team that I've ever coached. Added up the cumulative age of everyone. So not only am I trying to get to know them and they're trying to figure me out, but we're trying to just force feed a ton of drills and skills and information to them. And I think if you looked at the games, you'd say, what are they doing? And does Coach Ford have a clue anymore? But really, we played good competition this year. I mean, we brought in our Knox, and we played Middleburg, and we played Kiel, and really the teams that we could have beat, we went 500 in those games. Yeah, let's just talk about everyone. And let's start with Lanaya. And Lanaya, I saw play at Modified, and I was like, yeah, she's going to have a bright future. Lanaya is just such a good natural athlete, and she just really makes basketball work. She's such a good defender. I really feel like the sky's the limit for her. She had a really big game against Lauderdale where she had 10 points, and at the same time we asked her to shut down Lauderdale's best player, and she was really up to the challenge the entire time. And if she wasn't on the court, it was a big loss to us. Moving on to Heaven Carter, and Heaven she's greatly improved from last year, and we spent a lot of time working on her shooting form and just completely breaking it all down and building it all up. And in the last game of the year, in fact, we had such a nice move against Middleburg, and I was like, yeah, there it is. And I thought he played really well in that game. And then she also, she was a really good post defender, or maybe she was really good at like just aggravating people. Did that girl from Burn Knox almost in tears, I feel. So yeah, just keep working at it. And I really feel next year will be big for you. Tamara Dawson, a freshman. And Tamara's got this great passion for the game, and I think if you gave her the option to, can you have a basketball in your hand at all times, she'd probably take that deal. She's a good natural shooter, and she had, talk about good last games against a really good Middleburg team, but we really hung with them. She had a really awesome game. She had 10 points, and I really feel like things started to finally click for Tamara. That's a big jump to go from modified varsity for all these kids. And unfortunately, it was like by the time we all started to figure it out, the season was over. But I really hope that Tamara picks up where she left off. Because she was dynamite. Bella, unfortunately, Bella's not here. And Bella, unfortunately, she was always sidetracked with something. It was injuries and we really missed Bella because Bella was an important part of the team. She kind of understood what was going on. She knew all of our plays. She knew how to play defense. And really rooting for Bella to make a comeback next year. Jaden Gardner, she once again started to really figure it out as well. She runs the floor. She runs the floor hard. And she started to kind of get it at the end. And really, she's got 3 years left. If there's going to be a lot of success had by our program, she's going to be right in the middle of it. Emma, 7th grader. I have not coached many 7th graders on varsity. And really, and Emma was kind of banged up in the beginning of the year. And she missed practice time. And practice time, when we had so little practice time, it just really crushed her. It was so hard for her to come back from that. It was so hard to trust her when I didn't really, when I couldn't mold her in practice. But she started to figure it out good. Your first 2 points on varsity, you had a sweet and breakaway layup, kind of with a little Euro step, you had a nice, and I was like, yes. And you played well from that point on. And I'm telling you, if she continues to work, and I don't know why she wouldn't, she's going to make a name for herself. I'm a second girl for another girl that can make a name for herself is Alexis McCarthy. And she's an 8th grader, and she played huge minutes for us, good ball handler, good decision maker, really good passer, fun to root for, fun to watch play, deceptively fast. You've never beat anyone in sprints, and yet you've never let anybody beat you down the court. You always be back on defense somehow. And for the little amount of practice that we had this year, you kind of get it. You kind of get it. You're really seasoned beyond your years, and I appreciate that. Give us a full season with you to mold you. We'll turn you into an all-star. This girl plays basketball with one speed, and it is fast. Olivia plays fast. Everything she does is fast. And she is a lot of fun to watch. She's super upbeat, very loud. But she has it always has a big smile on her face most of the time, unless it's a scowl. And I like that about you, kind of like a chip on your shoulder. And talk about somebody that, she never wanted anyone to beat her in any sprint. It was always her and I, and I'd always be really close to her. And, Olivia, she just plays fast. And I'm telling you, kiddo, you told me the other day in visit, you're like, I'm not good at basketball. I said, you're good at basketball. You're an 8th grader. You're going to be special. And I can't wait. Give me a full year to coach you up. You're going to be good. And we have, sorry. Did we talk about Carly? There's Carly in this list. Carly. Yeah, so Carly kind of had a complete role reversal 2 years ago. I was just like, oh my God, this girl driving me nuts. She doesn't have any idea what's going on. Loved her, played super hard, all over the place. Lots of hustle, and now it's like I'm looking at her and I'm telling her to be a leader and really trusting her. And it's happened so quickly. It's amazing. You went from the little kid, the young kid on the team, to the oldest kid on the team. It's just a crazy turnaround with the way that we graduated all those girls last year. And she plays super hard and she's super aggressive. She's a lot of fun to be around, and Carly's going to be really good next year, senior year. And Maddie has somehow, it's 4 years, right, Maddie? Maddie somehow, I haven't drove her nuts after 4 years of coaching her. And she has her career kind of went like full circle. She was a role player on really good teams that had a lot of success, and then she turned into like the star of the team on a team that kind of struggled at times. So she kind of like experienced it all. Now Maddie could look up and she could look over at the stand and like you were part of a league champion, and no one will ever take that away from you, Maddie. And that's really cool. I was so happy when they gave us the green light to play for Maddie. I really wanted her to have a senior year. She didn't disappoint. She led us in scoring 5 out of 7 games. And on her last home game, right, the last time that you ever played on this court, not only did we win, but you had your career high. And I thought that was just like such a cool send-off for you in the sport. Yeah, that was really neat. And yeah, you just kind of stood out. Like even though you don't look big, like you were like one of our best rebounders. And you will be sorely missed. And I hope you come back and watch us next year. I do have some awards. So I have 2 Coach's Choice Awards and an MVP award. Because we didn't play a full league schedule and there were very few teams in our league that actually play basketball, there wasn't an all-star team. I think that needs to be mentioned. If there was, I think a lot of these girls would have made that team. But my first Coach's Choice Award goes to Alexis McCarthy. Give her a hand. My second Coach's Choice Award goes to Carly Seeloff. And my MVP of our team goes to Madeleine Zechariah. You're all going to be cleared to watch this team next year. They're not keeping any of you away. Come on, watch this team. They're going to be fun to watch. Next year, they'll be fun to watch. 2 years from now, they'll be really good. 3 years from now, we'll be dominant. This year's Varsity Basketball team, give them a hand.
Untitled Softball. I'm going to read out their names. There's not many of our athletes that are here tonight, so I hope they're watching. The 2 that are here, I would like for you to join us up here. Mariah LeFaver, Simona Nevaeh, Alana Macon, Ellis Roy, Alana Knight, Juliana Burke, Cole Pesca, Zamaria Edwards, Addison Miller, Nevaeh Buck, Sydney McDermott, and Destiny Webb. We just wanted to first start by saying how happy we were to be able to field the 1 modified team this year. I think that says a lot about our softball program, and I hope Coach Ford is excited about that. We had a lot of girls who were excited to come out and play. There were some that had no experience, there were some that had some experience, and there were some that had more experience. We knew before the season started that we were going to be faced with a very different season on many levels. The girls were on board for whatever that was going to look like. They had no idea what the season was going to look like. We had no idea. As a whole, we asked many girls to step outside their comfort zone and take on challenges. We asked girls who had never played before to be a starter on a high school softball team. We asked girls who were comfortable playing 1 or 2 positions to play a completely different position. We had to change their focus, and they did step up and play. This says more to us as a team than our end-of-the-year season record. Stepping outside of comfort zones is never easy, and they did it. We are very proud of the challenges that you faced and the accomplishments you've all made this season. We hope that you continue to work in the off-season, and we can't wait to see what next season brings. For our
award, we have our MVP. We have a girl, Madeleine, who stepped out of her comfort zone to become a pitcher for us, and she did an amazing job. She also became our most powerful hitter. I can remember the first day of practice, we were just heading off the tee, and she hit it over your head. She looked at us, and she's like, "Should I be doing that?" And we're like, "Yeah, absolutely. Please do more." So our MVP is Alana Mayhem. Our coaches award this year is going to go to an athlete who has never played softball before. This athlete is always eager to learn more and do better. She always asked questions. She wanted to learn the game. She always wanted to just be there. She never missed practice. Actually, she might miss it. She worked hard all the time. It was a pleasure to coach. Our coaches award goes to Destiny Webb. 100% award goes to an athlete who always gave her all. She kept going when she was hurt, tired, discouraged. She never said no to us. She always just wanted to help everybody out in the field and practice. She said no to trying to think. She always wanted to be there. And she always played with heart. Her 100% award goes to Sydney Drew. Our most improved award is going to an athlete that practiced all preseason at one position and found out in the first game that she was going to a completely different position and was really nervous about it. She had never played there. She was unsure of her capabilities there. She didn't want to play. But she became our first baseman and did an amazing job. Stopped almost every ball that came to her. Our most improved goes to Ellis. We can have Varsity Softball.
I would like to start off by thanking everyone who made this season possible. Mr. Ford, Mrs. Valentine, our administration, Board of Education. I know there was a lot of behind the scenes preparation with the new rules and regulations. And so I appreciate all the work that you guys put into making this season happen. I would also like to thank all of our families and friends and fans who came out to watch our games. Your support is also greatly appreciated. And lastly, I'd like to recognize and thank the Varsity Softball team. So when I call your name, just come on up. 7th grader, Emma Sagador. Started at first base. 8th grader, Terrence Stone. This is Terrence's first year on varsity. She played right field. 8th grader, Lanaya Leslie. This is also Lanaya's first year on varsity, and she started at third base. 8th grader, Alexis McCarthy. This was Alexis' second year on varsity. She didn't get a chance to play last year, and she was our starting pitcher. 8th grader, Healty Barrett. This was also Kenzie's first year on varsity, and she was our starting catcher. Freshman, Alyssa Bailey. This was also her first year on varsity, and she played the outfield. freshman Jaden Gardner. Another first-year varsity softball player who played the outfield. Sophomore Haley Miller. Again, her first year on varsity, and she played right field. Sophomore Heather Carter. It's her second year on varsity, and she played third base and right field. Junior Isabella Nolet. Her second year on varsity, and she played second base and the outfield. Junior Carly Seelong. Her third year on varsity, and she was our starting shortstop. Senior Kayla Wilson. Played first year on varsity, and she started at second base. And last but not least, Madeleine Zechariah. Third year on varsity, and started in center field. So obviously, as you heard, 9 out of our 13 athletes are first-year varsity softball players. So this was a very young team, and the ones that returned only had 1 full season of playing on the varsity level. So this is definitely a year of firsts for many reasons. It was our first year, we had our first practice, while most of the team was still playing in their last soccer game. The first year, I had only a week and a half of practices before our first game. The first year, some of these girls went from basketball to soccer to softball all within 4 months. The first year, we couldn't shake our opponent's hands after the game. And the first, and hopefully last time, we'll ever have to navigate COVID, focusing on staying healthy and wearing masks. So there were many obstacles from day one, but these 13 athletes never gave up. They worked hard at practice and improved every game. They learned the importance of being on a team and the value of working together. Yes, this is a young team, but they have heart and perseverance and are dedicated. It is very exciting to think about the future, and if these girls stay together, good things will happen. It was a great year, and I look forward to many more. I do have a few awards to give out. I have 2 most improved player awards. Unfortunately, both the girls aren't here tonight. But the first most improved player award goes to an athlete who I felt worked very hard from day one to understand the game and to learn the rules. She focused on improving her skills by always asking after practice what she can do to get better. Her strengths of being a fast base runner and her speed in the outfield gave her confidence. She's a very coachable player, and I look forward to seeing her shine next year. The most improved player award goes to Taryn Stone. The second most improved player goes to an individual who wasn't even sure she wanted to play varsity softball. She showed up to our first practice and afterwards told me she thought she'd rather play modified. And I saw the potential in her and convinced her to play varsity, and I'm so glad she agreed. This athlete quickly became our starting left fielder and was a huge asset to our team. If she puts her mind to it, she could end up being a tremendous softball player. So our second most improved player goes to Jaden Gardner. I also have 2 awards to give out for Rookie of the Year. I usually only give this to one athlete who is a first-time varsity player, but this year I'm giving it to 2. One player did make varsity as a 7th grader last year, but unfortunately never got the opportunity to play. And this year I kind of feel we have a dynamic duo who deserve these awards. They are both 8th graders, and they were our starting pitcher and catcher. These girls came to the team with a tremendous amount of knowledge and experience. They are smart players, they know the game, they have a strong bat, they hit 3rd and 4th in our lineup, and to make it even better, they're just fun to be around. They would give me suggestions and share their opinions at practices, and for most of the time I listened to them. So I appreciated that. They're definitely going to be fun to watch, and from what I hear, they might even be interchangeable next year. So our 2 Rookie of the Year awards go to Alexis McCarthy. I have 3 Coaches' Choice Awards. The first one goes to a returning athlete who had to step up and play a tough position this year. I moved her from left field to shortstop. She wasn't crazy about playing shortstop, but knew it was the best for the team, so she worked every day, learning and adjusting to her new position. She was also our leadoff hitter. Carly is one of the most coachable athletes I've ever coached, and I can't believe she's going to be a senior next year. So our first Coach's Choice Award goes to Carly Seagull. The second Coach's Choice Award goes to one of our seniors. This athlete somehow made it to her senior year without ever having me as her coach until this season, and I never even taught her either. But I'm so glad that we had this time, and I'm so glad she decided to play softball. The energy and enthusiasm that she gave at every practice and game was contagious. Anytime I felt the team lacked excitement, I could always count on her to be a voice of encouragement. She started at second base, but was willing to play any position that I put her at. She was fun to be around, and I'm so glad I had the opportunity to coach her. I wish her all the best of luck in everything she does, and you'll definitely be missed next year. So our second Coach's Choice Award goes to Caleb Wilson. And our last Coach's Choice Award goes to an athlete who I feel has grown not just as a softball player, but as an individual. When she first started playing softball 3 years ago, she was quiet, very reserved. She was new to the game. And then, unfortunately, I wasn't able to coach her last year. And she showed up to our first practice this year as a senior, and I was so proud to see her confidence and her ability to be a leader was so evident. In the last 2 weeks of our season, I really felt Maddie realized that this was it. It was her last time wearing a Healty uniform, and she just was working so hard. She had fun. I saw her excitement. I saw how happy she seemed, and she was truly just enjoying being in the moment. I will definitely miss her, and I know she'll do great things. Good luck with all you do, Maddie. So thanks for the great year, girls.
The baseball players want to come up to the stage. Come on out, please. Well, after 2 years, I'd like to announce to everybody, this is the Healty Varsity baseball team for this year. Anthony Carr, APS, Sean Ellis, LJ McCarthy, Nate Monahan, Alex Reese, Aiden Stone, and Cole Tompkins and Brady Hall. That's the varsity baseball team for this year after a 2-year hiatus. I'd first like to start by thanking a couple of people who put in a lot of time and effort this year to make this baseball season possible. Coach Carwell, Scott Carwell, and of course Coach Ford. They worked tirelessly up at the baseball field, getting it ready so it was playable. That field wasn't used in 2 years because we had that baseball team. But they got it ready, new dirt, new bases, new infield, everything almost brand new and ready for us to go for our first game. I'd like to thank them. As for the season, as everybody's been saying, it was a crazy season. We didn't know when we were starting. We didn't know if we were going to start. We didn't know how many guys we were going to end up with. As it is, we only ended up with 9. As you know, baseball, you need 9 to play. It's not too fun playing with less than that. We didn't play a league schedule, which kind of made things tough, so we didn't know who we were playing, when we were playing, or what. But we did have 5 games scheduled, which is better than nothing. At least the kids got a chance to play. These players showed up from day one, every one of them, to every practice, and got ready and worked hard to prepare for the limited number of games that they were expected to play. Unfortunately, we only ended up playing 3 games. The other 2 were rained out because that happens in baseball. Those 2 games that we played, though, all things considered, after not having a team for the last 2 years, and some of these players not playing at all for that period of time, we had a very good chance of winning those games, and we were actually ahead most of the games in both of those games, which is a testament to how they played. Also, they played hard, they practiced hard, and they played hard, and they're such a good group of kids. They work hard, they get ready for the games, they do what they're told in practice, but most of all, they have fun in practice, and they all get along, which is great to see. So even though we didn't win a game this year, the foundation is set, and we just need to build on what was started this year, and to continue to work hard to become the team we want to be. I look forward to seeing all of you guys back next year, and hope we can get some more players to sign up to play and join us in our journey to where we want to be as a team. Thank you.
I love the big special awards at the end. I love handing out a plaque. I love what it stands for. And it's always a really tough decision because I feel like there's a lot of deserving student athletes in the gymnasium right now. I do want to backtrack very quickly and just touch upon, I said one thing in the beginning when I was talking about the silver lining, and I talked about we had 4 student athletes, 4 guys that did play for varsity sports. That I don't know when that will happen again. I don't know if that will happen again. I don't know if it ever happened before. I certainly know it didn't happen in the last 20 or 30 years. So rather than just leave it there, and you guys can just stand up, but I think you need to be recognized. So guys that play cross country, basketball, baseball, and soccer, all at the varsity level. Aiden Diaz, Aiden Stone, Anthony Carr, and Nate Monty. Give them a hand. All right, sportsmanship, male and female. And this is a tough choice. This is a tough call because there is a lot of deserving student athletes, like I just said. And I started to write 2 different speeches, and they both were kind of like the same thing. And then I was like, they're sick of hearing from me already. I'm not going to give 2 speeches. Let's just mush it all into one speech, because these 2, they have the same traits. They really do. And I've coached them both. I've coached them both for a while. So I'll tell you when I think about these two, what I think about what the Sportsmanship Award stands for. This is what comes to mind, and then they can come up here and grab these plaques. So they're both reliable, they're both punctual, they're intelligent, they're respectful, they give effort on the field and in the court, on the court. But I think maybe more importantly, they give a lot of effort in the classroom. Right? It's a big deal. Student athlete, not athlete, student. They don't quit. And there's lots of opportunities when you're not winning games to just be like, I'm done. They don't quit. They never complain. Both of these two strive to get better. Every single year that I coach them, they get better. They put the team first. They put pride in putting on a Healty uniform. Right? They play for the front of the uniform. They both have a good sense of humor. They're both fun to be around. They attend all the practices, and they're physically there. And there's a lot of us that are physically there, but these two are also mentally there. Right? They don't check out. They practice the right way. Right? Attention to detail. It's not just a physical game. A lot of it is a mental game. Like I said, they wear the uniform with pride. And the last thing that I think of when I think of these two, really, they're everything that you would want in a student athlete. So please give a huge hand to Carr. If wanted me to say more nice things about them, I can keep going. All right, up next we have exceptional senior.
So this award is a CHPL award. This is awarded to a student who participates in multiple sports. It's not usually a one sport athlete. So that is one of the things that they look for. So this is from the league itself. This young lady, I was given the pleasure of meeting out, and I, without hesitation, I didn't want to be a part of this. This young lady started her career in all three sports. I made sure that I talked to all the coaches just to kind of get a little bit of a background of their experience as well. It's no different than what I had. She started out very quiet, very timid, but she was a hard worker. She listened, she did it, she was bold, she always wanted to know. But over the years, we started to see that flower begin to bud. And as an athlete, she eventually turned into just a rose in the sense that what you would see on and off the court, just as a whole person, was amazing. But as an athlete, it was very impressive as well. The moves, the hard work, the rebounds, the ankle break. There's no surprise that in this situation that she earned this award this year. But if I had to look back in previous years, I have to say that it would have caught me off guard because she blended in so well in her surroundings because she was such a good athlete in the sense of she did what coaches needed her to do. And when you usually have kids like that, they don't necessarily stand out. You know you can count on them. You know you can rely on them. No matter what's going on, you call their name and they come running and do everything that you ask. And you take that for granted. And so this award is really an awesome opportunity for me to be able to share this opportunity with her. Because what I've seen this year, what I've heard from basketball, what I've also heard from softball, is that this young lady is an amazing athlete. And the one thing that I kind of cherish, was not on the soccer field, is that as I was driving away from work the other night, which was the last softball senior game this young lady would have, I kind of pulled the sides and we figured a day and get up. And she was just sitting there with her braids and the biggest smiles could be, knowing that this is going to be the last senior game that she was ever going to have on the field. Kind of got me emotional. My wife was sitting in the car with me, she just looked at me and laughed because, you know, as many of the students know, I kind of let my emotions, you know, on my sleeve. But I can't ask for anything more from her. The work ethic, every team in the league knows. I mean, when they see this young lady, she's physical, she's fiery, she's energetic, and she's a woman of many, many names. Even in her own household, I don't think they know how to pronounce her name yet. But Maddie, Mad Dog, Maddie C. But for specifically, I pulled her aside, but it's Madeleine Zechariah. Could you please come to the stage to accept the CHGO? You're now the outstanding female senior.
I've had the pleasure of coaching this guy since his freshman year. I said this earlier, and I think one of the best things in coaching is seeing the progression a player has from the time he starts playing for you until the time comes when he has to move on. And when I was writing this, I had a huge smile on my face because basketball aside, this kid is a totally different person than when I first saw him. I actually had 2 side-by-side photos of this when I was writing this. He went from this relatively small, maybe a little fragile kid wearing knee pads, and he's grown into this tall, possibly still a little fragile, wearing knee pads kid with now shaggy hair. But the one thing that's never changed about him is his great personality. I don't know if I laugh more with a player than I have when I'm around him, and I can't tell you how important that is for a team to have. As much as he may be comical when the time's right, often when the time's not right. When he's on the court, he has a tendency to start usually laid back, and then he can flip the switch. It may be a foul, or maybe something else, and he can play with a chip on his shoulder. I'm going to miss seeing that. I know his teammates are going to miss seeing that in practice and in games. As much as he's developed as a young man, his game has developed as well. Albeit there's times I wish he used his size and paint a little more than shooting 3-pointers. He'd probably disagree with me on that. I know that if I needed something done on the court, he would try to do his best. I think we probably use him in all positions of our lineup actually, from a guard as a freshman to a center as a senior. I don't think I've had many players that I can actually say have done that. But regardless of position, with 3-pointers over layups or haircuts, I've been proud to coach this guy for these 4 years, and I'm honored to present him this award. This year's CHGO Outstanding Senior Male Athlete, Jake said. I'm getting a stare from the coaches because they think that I'm going to close this up to an alma mater. I'm going to bring our AD back up here to say
Taylor Wilson. Taylor Wilson. You got this. Alma mater. Here we go. Give her some help. Come on, Maddie. Come on, Jake.
Now raise your voices high and sing our alma mater praise with colors that shine so bright. For green and white will always fight. We cheer for good old Healty High and raise our banners to the sky. That great name and never die. Our alma mater Healty High.
Thanks for coming. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you all next year.